Chief, can you hear me? I can't hear you. So, okay,
Can you
your
hear
mic
me
is
now?
mute. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, your mic was mute before. Yeah, welcome, Chief. And sorry for the delay.
Thank you very much.
Network today has been fainting like some people were fainting yesterday on national TV.
Crazy stuff happening. Yeah.
I hope you weren't embarrassed by all those drama you were seeing on TV yesterday.
Are we not used to it? We're all used to it. It's such Nollywood stage. That's what I call it.
Oh God, oh God. The one that even made me laugh most was when they were putting fingers in his mouth, and then someone who fainted was trying to remove the finger
Remove the
off
finger.
his mouth.
You're actually choking him. You're choking him. He's
No,
acting. Is that part of the act?
but if he was fainting, I mean, how could he have energy to even want to remove someone's finger? He should have just slumped and
Exactly.
nothing. He won't, even if you hit someone who slumped, he won't feel the sensation. So
Yeah.
it's well with our country. Anyway, welcome, Chief, and once again
Thank
to
you.
all our viewers, we must apologize for starting late. Network has been just terribly crazy, but we are here now, so we'll make the best use of it. Chief, we started off on Saturday and we looked at how housemaids were maltreated by their madams. Today, you talked about mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws, but we couldn't really wrap it up before we ended the program. So I want you to touch a little on mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws before we go on to talk about the main conversation, because today we'll be looking at what should couples even do, because property acquisition has also been a concern to a lot of couples, especially now that the rate of divorce is becoming so glaring. People who were lovers are becoming strangers the next day. People who were doing joint accounts suddenly wake up one morning and see that the man elopes with the money, or the woman elopes with the money. And I noticed with joint accounts, sometimes one partner is the one doing more, contributing more in that joint account than the other. And the one who contributes more sometimes even is the one who is more prudent in spending.
Yeah.
So you find there are always issues. So let's talk a little about mother-in-laws. And there's one part we also neglect, the sister-in-law factor, because there are homes where the mom must have died, the sister is the mother-in-law factor, and
Yeah.
this brings a lot of what will lead to decisions couples take when it comes to acquisition of property. A man loves his wife crazily, he tell pogi with the children, and naba,
Yeah.
you know. So let's talk a little about that before we go to couples acquisition of property.
Okay, you want me to talk about mother-in-laws, is it? Conclude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way they infuse and just coming into decision makings when they should just let the couples be and take their decisions for themselves.
Yeah. Well, as a mother myself, I do love my son very much, but I wouldn't want to interfere in his marriage life, to be honest. A lot of times we make mistakes of, coming on too hard, especially if we don't like the woman. It usually starts by the son coming home, bringing a woman. Oh, this is the person I want to marry. And then instantly the mother just disapproves. Probably not from the same place, not the same culture, not the same tribe, and it becomes an issue. And most of the time, son would, put his feet down and say, "Oh, this is I'm going to marry her, and that's that." Or probably she could have taken in, probably pregnant, and the family wouldn't have a choice. And then the mother-in-law now, comes visiting, and out of bitterness and anger, takes it out on the young girl. But again, mothers want their children, their daughters, to be treated, in a very loving manner. Why go to your son's house and treat someone else's daughter that way, and make emotionally traumatize her? Actually,
Yeah.
some of them actually approve of the marriage and love the girl. But they now come to visit and feel, especially where the son is the sole breadwinner of the entire family, they feel this woman is here to just take everything. You know, everything is scrutinized. Her clothes, you know, her designer shoes or bags or whatever she gets
She's a
herself.
gold digger, and
Yeah,
then she's extravagant.
exactly, exactly. And that becomes a huge issue. And, you know, most often times when the mother-in-law has issues with the daughter-in-law, she calls her daughters and tells her side, tells them her side of the story, and they take it hard.
Yeah.
Now, if these are people also that are envious of the woman, oh, you know, I pity the woman because they will be out for war. But I also think that men should actually come in here and talk to their mothers. You know, you
To
just have
have
to,
boundaries.
yes, there has to be, especially if you know you have a stubborn and a troublesome mother. You, like most men know and tell their wives,
True.
my
True.
mother is really a headache, but you just have to bear it. Oh, my mother did this to you, you just have to bear it. But again, he's confused. Whose side am I going to take? He actually has to, not in front of the wife, right? He has to have a conversation
Yeah.
with her. Because if he has a conversation in front of the wife, the woman would feel, oh, your wife
Slighted.
actually put you up to this. Oh, you now have the guts to insult me because of your wife, and she'll take it out on her on her daughter-in-law, and her children will take it out on their sister-in-law. So that's it. We have to have a conversation and you know, here a dialogue between the mother and the son. You see, you can't come to my home and treat my wife like this. This is my fault, not her fault. I accepted it this way, not her. I'm the one who runs the house, not her. You know. And I think if you
Yeah.
actually sit down and talk to the mother-in-law, she will actually understand. And then you have to be very strict sometimes to tell her, if this is gonna keep repeating, then you're not welcome here. Now, no mother wants to be, you know, kept away
Out of
from
touch
visiting
with
the
her
child.
children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, you know, most of the time they mellow down, they calm down. And you see, eventually, when they grow older, they become actually best friends with the daughter-in-law they maltreated, you know, initially. Because the daughter-in-law actually also accepts it as part of tradition or something. I don't know. They
Mm.
just accept it for peace to reign in the house. Oh, this is what my mother-in-law did. My mother-in-law did this to me, but anyway, I'm just gonna bear it. I'm just gonna take it in, and then they see her as a weakling, and then they take it upon themselves to wreak havoc. Now you come
Mm.
to someone's house and she tells you she doesn't like this being done this way, and you take offense because this is your son's house, but the woman runs the house. And she
True.
doesn't like it when you go into her kitchen or when you go into her you know, their bedroom, and you know, and take something without telling her. You know, this is how she wants it. Now, I'll tell you a short story. A man got married, and after they had their first child, the woman usually visits. The man's mother usually visits them, and she stays in the opposite room, right upstairs. But after a few years, the woman took in, and it was time for Mugo. And of course, who would come for the Omugo? The woman's mother. And when the woman's mother came, they moved her into the room opposite. When the man's mother came, they told her that she would go into the guest house, because when the baby cries at night, the Mugo mother is just the opposite, and you can always take the baby, you know, to her, and it caused such a big problem. The woman now said there is no way she's going to leave, that this is her permanent room in this house whenever she comes to visit. And she is insisting that she stays in that room. Now, the man, just to please the mother, told the mother-in-law to move downstairs. And his wife now said, if my mother is going to move downstairs, then, you know, out of, you know, let there be peace and it's convenient for her, I'm going to move downstairs to my mother and stay in the guest room so she can take care of the baby. The man accepted and they moved downstairs. His mother saw it as an insult. Why should your wife and his mother occupy the guest room downstairs?
Ah, ah.
Now, it's shocking. The woman should come back. Now, is it your mother-in-law running your house? Your wife is supposed to be in the same bedroom with you. Whenever the
Exactly.
baby wakes up in the middle of the night, take her down, take the baby downstairs. And the nurse mother said, it's too much stress. I can't take the
True.
baby all the way downstairs. What if I trip and fall? And the mother-in-law caused so much problem that it actually ended that marriage. Till date, that marriage ended. The woman eventually remarried and moved on, but till date, the man is not married. Till date, the man never remarried. Yeah, it ended. It ended. It became such a bitter fight, involved the two homes, and the home broke up. So most of the times, mother-in-laws actually take things to the extreme and wreak havoc and destroy homes. I think as women, we should all calm down here and have a talk. If you have a
True.
bad daughter-in-law, have a talk with her. Talk to her mother, talk to her parents. See, your daughter is this. Oh, we apologize. She's actually like this. But see, if you can talk to your daughter for me, I'm not saying that all daughters-in-law are good. They are very bad ones too,
Yeah. Yeah.
But everything doesn't have to end in a fight or, a divorce or something. There has to be some sort of, tolerance somewhere.
Common grounds. Everyone should come
Everybody
to
should
a common grounds.
exactly
Yeah,
learn to
compromise
accommodate each
and just
exactly.
yeah.
It's not forever.
Because
She's gonna come
it
and stay and go.
it
Yeah.
brings a lot of because we just talk about these things lightly, but like you said, the marriage packed up eventually. Some things
Yeah.
that people look like is not really one big deal. It's could be a huge deal for other people.
Exactly.
something as
Exactly.
little something as little as a mother-in-law going into the kitchen to even boil water might
Yeah.
lead might just bring a whole lot of conversation around all
Exactly.
that. And
Exactly.
that's why we're looking at it from this perspective, because um people take this whole thing for granted. And then sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws are also culprits of this very crime. It's just that they do there subtly that people don't realize, unlike the mother-in-laws who are a bit domineering, and then
Yeah.
they see the home that it's my child, so this is my child's home. But sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws, they're also culpable of this, because they come to the house, they misbehave sometimes.
Yeah.
If the husband, especially the husband, if the husband has a lot of sisters, they just come to the house with disregard to the wife. If she talks, they will tell her, now my brother house, no be we go marry you. If you talk, we go beat you.
Yeah.
I know sister-in-laws from even the wife's side, that anytime the husband and wife have issues, she herself will call her sisters. They will gather and beat up the man, the husband of the house. So that is as bad as that, because people keep interfering, and we like, we're Africans. Africans, we should love ourselves, and a lot of whole drama goes on there. Anyway, the program is Shagalinku, and we're looking at the part 2 today. And Chief, all the way from Dublin Island, is here, and we'll be looking at straight what should couples do when it comes to property acquisition. That also includes joint account and all that. And why I'm bringing Chief to come a second time to talk about this is that Chief is a forensic accountant, and a whole lot goes on. So she will be in a better position to tell us some of the pros and cons of all this. But before we even come to maybe the advantages or disadvantages, let's even set a background about joint accounts, property. And that was why, even in our introduction, I said, should it be in his name or her name or their names? Because I think everything is about agreement, how people could sit back and have a conversation, like you always say, that people should have a conversation. So, Chief, what would you start with? Let's even start with the basics. Do you think couples should sit down and have a conversation before they even acquire properties?
Absolutely. It's actually very important that couples know, a husband or a wife is aware of the property of the husband, the spouse, And then, especially when the children are involved. And when you have children, you want them to be comfortable. You would want someday to be able to train them, to the highest level of education. And when you acquire property, what do you have in mind? You have your children in mind, not just you. You're
Sure.
married.
Yeah.
When you're single, it's different. But here we're talking about you're married now. You're married and the kids are on the way and you're getting properties. And the first thing you would say is, oh, This is for the children. I've heard it a million and one times. And I'll use myself as an example. I've been married for 20 years, and we've got quite a number of property here and there. But at the end of the day, when we have that conversation, at the end of the day, everything belongs to the children. It's for the children. Things could go wrong someday and you would want to sell off property to keep afloat. Yeah. And there are some certain customs, that one should be extremely careful. When you're marrying into a certain place, I wouldn't want to call the name of the village. It's just quite close to mine. They are like my people as well,
Yeah, neighborhood. Yeah.
Yes, I have a story. This man from my town died. And the minute, that was when I was growing up, and I still remember my father being very bitter and upset about it. The minute this man died, his brothers came down from the village and took everything. Two brothers were fighting over his babariga. Were fighting who would take that. It is custom, it is tradition. From the side I come from, it is proper. It is a custom that has dehumanized women for so many years. And lately I asked my father if that custom is still on. And he said that he doesn't think so. Some people have protested, but he can find out for me. He's not sure. But to watch that family being stripped of everything, the custom is when the man dies, everything he has belongs to them. The children belong to the woman. Tell me how this woman is going to train her kids.
True.
They took the man's car. They left the woman without a car. They took his clothes. They cleared his bank account. Every single property in the house they carted away and left an empty house because the house did not belong to the man. It was a rented. It was accommodation given to lecturers. That was the only thing they left for her. Now the woman had to start again. And usually, when a spouse dies and you're in a university environment, the university would help you. If you've got a qualification, they would give you a job, to help you move on.
Cushion the effects.
Yes, that was her only saving grace. So to be honest, I believe couples should come together and sort their property out, to be honest. If there's a will, make a will. If you feel your spouse is going to leave you or you don't trust her, put it in the children's name. The kids have names. Put their names on the will, on your property.
Yeah.
It's the only way. You would never ever know what your brother or your sister could do to your children until you're dead.
True.
You never know.
True.
Yeah.
Because we hear a lot of stories. Hearing from you now, we hear a lot of stories where even when there are gratuities to be collected, so you will find some men, they forget to put either their children's name, like you said, and they put their brother's name or their uncle's name out of love and feel it's family. And then, when the retirement money comes, they just, the wife gets there and she finds out that now your husband, their brother don't come collect money, and then she's perplexed and she's asking herself, in the midst of her widowhood, that she's even crying and thinking about missing this man. She's also crying that how is she going to survive with these kids, because one husband's uncle or husband's brother has taken all the money. But don't you also think that it could be that, though it's really baseless for me, yeah, because I would have just said, don't you think it's because the wives are not trusted enough? That's why the man is doing all that. But like I'm saying now, it's actually even baseless, because like what you said, they should also consider the children. I mean, every man should be worried that no matter how bad your wife, no matter how bad anyone will treat your children, your wife won't go to that extent. Yeah, we have pockets of women who abscond with younger lovers, dump the children, take the late husband's gratuity and elope with younger boys or another person, but they are just a minute number of people. So what do you think I think women should, like you always talk about conversations, women should also begin to sit down with their husbands and have thorough conversations about this, because they can tell their husbands, yeah, even if you don't love me enough, even if you don't trust me enough, that I can't keep your money or manage it well when you die, what about the children? Because eventually your uncles or your brothers might actually even go with the money and never help your
Yeah.
children, and we will go times two of the poverty lane. So I think women should also begin to have that conversation and begin to build more trust in men, because the stories they hear is what is making them feel that way. So when a man buys a house for a woman, they feel it's juju she used in holding the man to do that. But they don't know that my grandmother always say that a woman's good character is her juju in her husband's home. So
Yeah.
when you see the man dancing and behaving mumu, the man knows what he's doing, because he feels and he has seen it, that this one is my wife. This is who I can trust. This is who is my partner. This is who can sit me down. I barely find some women who could sit their husband and say, for instance, if their husband is a business person, honey, I think you should invest in this kind of business, or honey, I think we should do this or we should do that. I go to some places and I see how women support their husbands, and she's like the accountant, the secretary. And I know other women might be even laughing at her and saying, "Nke ị na-eme ya eri? This way you are misbehaving. Your mates are there at home doing lolo and sitting down enjoying the oriako, and you are busy." You see women who I know a woman whose husband sells electrical equipment. She's the one that even travels to go buy it from Lagos. She will tell the man, stay in the shop. She will travel 2 days, come back, set up everything. And I'm amazed if younger girls will begin to learn how to support. We are not saying quit your maybe banking job and go and follow your husband if he has a restaurant. But you can also do that in giving him advice. If you are an educated woman whose husband is into business, you could begin to tell him that he needs to have an account, he needs to have financial records, he needs to put things in perspective so he doesn't sell goods to his customers and they do verbal contracts. You should bring in yourself into the whole deal. What do you think about that, Chief?
Yeah, I think actually, I wouldn't say, whether they love their wives enough or not. I would say it's ignorance. See, a lot of times we take life for granted. We think, oh, we have so many, many years to live. And then someone's life is cut short just like that. And that is why they make provisions here in the Western world. Are you ready? You have to have savings while you're working. You have to have, all sorts of insurance, just to be, and you save towards your funeral. It's shocking, but nobody wants to talk about that, but it
To be on
happens.
the safe side.
Yeah, it happens. Funerals are very expensive here. Buying the land is extremely expensive here. So there's no such thing as, oh, I'm going to my village to bury someone. The Western world, you have to buy a plot of whatever a burial
Your
plot.
portion, the portion,
Exactly.
yeah.
So they get you prepared and all that. And then, they have laws in the Western world automatically in place, whether the man has a will or not, the next of kin. You see, there are people who suddenly get a windfall. Oh, my grandmother's or my great grandmother's cousin died, and they traced the hereditary tree, and the money was given to me, £60,000. I just got a windfall. I never met her. I don't even. And that is the importance of having such things in place. We don't have such things in place in Africa. Someone dies and everybody scrambles for whatever. It's actually the wife who's supposed to get everything when he dies. It's the wife who inherits everything when he dies. But no, it's, in some cases, you see the brothers fighting. There was a case of a woman, a man who died. And as soon as he died, the brothers all came to the house. The woman's saving grace was the man's oga, who came and now said, please, can I talk to the brothers of this man? Because he knew they were coming, asking for his bank details, his bank account, his this, his that, this document and that document. And the woman was actually grieving. And the man now called them and now said, see you, your brother owes millions and millions and millions to this organization. And they need people who can contribute. You know, all his property isn't going to be enough. We're going to use this to offset the bills, but please, please, please. And do you know that his brothers, his blood brothers, disappeared? Nobody came clean. That was the woman's saving grace. She had everything intact. The brothers felt, oh, everything was going to go to somebody he was owing.
Yeah,
Can you
to death.
imagine that? I think the conversation is very important, because, to be honest,
Yeah.
you would end up going to the court of law in Africa. And if you have a very influential in-law who's going to win you in the court, you know, you can't actually say it's going to favor you. If you have someone very influential that is your that is your husband's brother, like your brother-in-law, and who wants the property,
Rosie all the way.
Yeah. So it's very important, and we always overlook it. I think, you know, in spite of everything, even if the woman ends up running off, you know.
True.
You know, think about the kids. There has to be, I'm not in support of, you know, a woman must have a plan. You know, you're coming in, you have children, and you acquire property, he acquires property. Let's ask this question too. The women that acquire property, do they add their husband's name to the property? We are here screaming the men should. Oh, you know, do the women add their husband's name to their property, the property they acquire? Do they? A lot of them don't. A lot of them do not. But the reason again why people are screaming, you know, just make sure that your name is on the will or on
Their
the
husbands
property or whatever, is for tomorrow, when the in-laws come, you know, sniffing around. But I would tell every woman to be empowered. See, if you have a skill or a job or a business you're running, and you're able to climb steadily to the top, you can actually acquire all that property and just, you know, ignore whatever the in-laws are up to. If you have your own property, why would you be looking for, you know, someone else's?
True. Yeah.
But let's get it straight here. You know, let's all be. Let's say it's the right thing to do, to leave everything for your wife and kids, and safeguard it so that the in-laws won't get a hold of them. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Thank you very much, Chief. Okay. Karim is here again, our regular viewer from the Philistines, and okay. So, what did you write there?
Oh, he said not names, or if an investment property, open a company together and have the corporation buy the property. Well, that's another way. That's another way to, you know, safeguard your property. If it's an investment, yeah. You open it together.
Some people have not looked at that angle too. People have not explored that much.
Well, it's because of the state of Africa or Nigeria, I would say, you know. Most people are more, you know, it's easier for people in Africa to go on and buy, instead of buying shares together, they go on and buy, you know, landed property, they go on and buy houses, you know, rent out and get the money straight away, you know. But he has a point. Karim actually has a point there. And if anything goes wrong, the corporation buys the property.
True. There are no losers then. At least the couples won't lose anything much. Yeah. Let's come back to your field again, because you're a forensic accountant, and there's always been this debate about joint accounts and all that. Yeah. So what are the pros and cons? You know, what are some of the advantages and disadvantages? So we could just, for couples who are watching now, for the lovey-loveys who, you know, the first 3 years of marriage is always like Romeo and Juliet thing. Even when you are telling the man, oh, do this, you say no. If you're telling the woman, do this, no. They are still carried away by that euphoria and all that. But like you say, things must be done properly. So what are some of the advantages and disadvantages to a layman that you might advise, coming from your field of work and your profession?
Yeah, well, I'm also a risk and financial analyst. So yeah, I will tell you the risk also involved in that. So
True, true.
yeah, joint account is good. It is. If you have if you feel you can handle that, it's perfect. In the Western world, most of them have joint accounts, right? But I
Yeah.
know of a few Nigerians married to Westerners that would always come and cry and say, "Oh my God, no savings, no nothing. My wife just wiped the card and everything, bought the whole
Evacuation.
bought the whole stuff."
Evacuation.
You know, oh my goodness. But yeah, it's something people go into, but nobody really wants to. Everybody wants their independence. If I'm working and I'm earning, my money, and it goes into a joint account, I would be more restless, about that. For people planning to buy a home, now that's the advantage. You have a joint account where you can save up for your home, right? For people planning to buy certain property, landed property, invest in a business or something, and you're saving for it. Okay, you sit down and say, okay, let's give ourselves 12 months, save this money, it goes straight into the joint account, and we can start a business together. Now that's perfect, right? But again, let's look at it. Do you trust her or do you trust him that much? Because we've heard of people who marry for ulterior motives, and then after a few years, they clear the account and they zoom off, they disappear into thin air. How do you start looking for such people, Joe? You have to earn the trust first. You have to have plans to start something together. It's good, even if it's for summer holidays or something. I have a friend who has a joint account with her husband. Whenever it's summer, the husband tells her, "Have you booked for everyone?" She just goes and she does everything. She does the shopping, she does, whenever it's summer holidays. But after that, it's all back to your own separate account. While you have a joint account, also have a separate one. It's very important to prepare for anything that comes up in future. And as an accountant, well, as a
The
forensic
rainy.
accountant, my work as a forensic is digging into files and digging into the past, and if there's a fraud committed, you go back to the archives and dig it out to see where to be able to trace. But basically, also I can also talk about that. The risk in having a joint account is if it's a con person and the person swindles you of every single life savings you have and takes off. Because some people are too trusting. Oh, I have seen people that are engaged to be married. They do the first introduction, and the guy actually clears their account and disappears. This con men around. I have seen it. It's happened in Abuja where I live. It's happened in Abuja before. And then I said to the person, how can a woman actually just let herself, be conned like that? And he said to me, don't ever blame her. They target certain people, probably 35 and above, excellent jobs, desperately
Okay.
searching. So now you are
Yeah.
vulnerable.
True.
They open their doors to you. They introduce, they meet your family, and the wedding is being planned. And then the next thing, everything disappears from your account. So I would, well, couples, someone like me that has been married for 20 years, joint account is all
Mm.
right, really. I don't mind, I don't care really. If it's gonna serve a purpose, fine. Then to have your own personal account is also important. If there's something you want to do, like out of your personal account, you want to help a relative, you want to pay your niece's school fees, you want to sort out your mother's hospital bills, then it's also actually quite, good to have your own personal account as well. Yeah, you can hear me, can you? Can you hear me?
Very good. Thank you so much, Chief. We'll be So we're still, I'll just quickly read them. Network is just phones. I'll just read them. Got some messages, but then we're just looking at what couples should do. I think they should sit down, like Chief said. The messages are trying to, okay, this one says, I've seen a couple, this one is from Mbotus Ubili Ima. It says, I've seen a couple where both the man and the woman write their name on their property owned by them and have been married for over 10 years. That's an issue. No problem, Sha. He said he's seen couples do couples actually do that? So
Never.
everyone writes their name. You mean they do that?
Wow.
Chief, Chief, you mean there are couples who can do that?
Well, I don't have my name on any property.
Yeah, Chief, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't write my name on any. My name isn't anywhere visible. You know, if they do that, I really don't know. But it's up to them. Whatever that makes them, happy, I guess.
But what could be the reason? I'm trying to be in their position and think what could be their reason.
Well, the reason, like, if you mean like writing on the wall of the house, like this property belongs to. It's to tell everyone, this is it. Hand off. I'm also a part of this property. You can't come and take it from me. I think they're actually trying to pass on a message there. And if they feel comfortable that way, then it's all right, really. It's up to them. Whatever makes it work for them.
Whatever rocks their boat. Because when he said this, that they are writing names, I'm wondering, like in high school back in the days, people just engrave their names on their notebooks, textbooks, massets, rulers, so no one can, even if you steal it, you have a difficult time scratching to cover up that space.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if a woman buys a car where she writes her name aside the receipt and all that. It's well. Okay, I got another one from another Emmanuel. His name is Emmanuel Bayo. He says, in my opinion, I think they should use their names because the union of marriage has automatically made them one and equal. Using either the husband's name or the wife's name is discriminatory. They should use one name. That's from Emmanuel Bayo. What do you think, Chief?
One name. When you say one name, are you going to say this property belongs to Mr. and Mrs.?
Yes, I think that is what he meant. Yeah, that's what he meant. Yeah, they should use their name. Yeah.
Well, I think he's also right in that way, in that sense, actually. But both their names should be visible. You're not going to say Mr. and Mrs. Emeka Nwankwo.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
If you're you will say Mr. Emeka and Mrs. Juliana Nwankwo. Then that way her name is on the property as well. Because
some don't do that. Yeah, you just said something very important now, because they will say it's their name, Mr. and Mrs. Emeka Nwankwo, and at the court, the man might win, because they will say, Madam, yes, the Mrs. can be anything. your first name is not there. So
Absolutely.
Mrs. can be anything,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So women, if you are hearing now, we are begging, be wise. Make sure he says Mr. Emeka and Mrs. Mbeke Nwankwo, so that the whole thing with Mboria.
Don't go fighting or don't go forcing, just sit down, give him his favorite meal, massage him and ask him a few questions, in that lovey-dovey
on his happy day. Yeah, on his happy day.
Mistake is made, he's going to change, to be honest. Yeah. No.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So finally, as we wrap up, I need you to talk about the care of the children. Like you said, children always are the receiving end. Whether the marriage is good, whether it's bad, whether they are splitting or they are coming together, reconciliation or whatever, couples sometimes don't also, first of all, think about the children. I think for every marriage, whether the good side or the bad side, the first thing they must think of is the welfare of the children. Because the truth is, these children never asked to be brought to the world. You used your lovey and your dovey to bring them. So
Yeah.
they must be a priority in whatever thing, whether in the good times and in the bad times. What will you have to say as we wrap up when it comes to children?
Well, I think children, yeah, like you said, should be considered. They should be priority actually, because when there's a divorce, it affects them not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. You know, mommy and daddy are going their separate ways, and then they have to shuffle. Visit mommy or visit daddy. Visitations and stuff like that. And then in cases like some cases in Africa where divorce is like war, some children don't get ever to see their mother or their father till they are 18 years or something, or old enough to sneak and go and pay them a visit. So I think couples, divorce is not the end of friendship. You can actually divorce and still keep a cordial relationship for the sake of the children. Think about the children, have a talk about the property. How is this gonna affect the children? How are you going to split this property? We're going our separate ways. We're going to have to stop the joint account. We're going to have to, every property that belongs to me or belongs to you doesn't belong to us anymore. How are we going to do it? And that is why I keep saying, if you have a property and you feel you don't want to add your husband's name or your wife's name on it, put your children's name to safeguard their future. Their name should be on the will, their name should be on the property. It is allowed. You don't have to. No one's forcing you to put your wife's name on the property. No one is forcing you to put your husband's name. But for the sake of the children, please force yourself to have a property and add the next of kin as your children. That way, if there's a divorce, sudden death, it wouldn't come, it wouldn't spring up as a surprise. You see, the children suffer mentally. We don't know that. Emotionally, we don't. We feel, you can see them. They are withdrawn. They do poorer in classwork. They don't make friends anymore. They always want to stay on their own.
They lose their self-esteem.
Yeah, it's all part of it. So I think something like a divorce, it shouldn't just come wish on the children. If you finally agree to divorce, or you're going through a tough patch, and it's gonna end in divorce, prepare the children for it. Talk to them, explain things to them, and keep a cordial. I keep saying it, very important for the children's growth. Keep a cordial relationship with your ex for the sake of the children. Yeah.
True. Wow. Thank you very much, Chief. So one last word of greeting as we wrap up this series. Anybody you want to greet might be watching you. Anyone?
Oh yeah, I'd like to say hello to is it Kareem? What's his name again, from Asia? That came on, the first person.
Yes, Karim Jackson.
Jim Jackson.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for tuning in and watching, and all those people that put in their own input. I'm really grateful actually, because without you, the fans, there wouldn't be any show. I would like to say thank you very much, and